Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for an informative and exciting CLIA Global Cruise Line webinar to discover what makes Quark Expeditions the leader in polar adventures. My name is Johanna de Guzman. I am the Manager of Industry Relations for North American Travel Trade Membership here at CLIA, and I'm quickly going to go through some housekeeping before introducing our presenter. The webinar will run for about 45 to 50 minutes with time for questions at the end. Please feel free to type your questions into the questions module of the webinar, and we will get to them at the conclusion of the presentation. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted on CLIA's YouTube channel, CLIA Global. It is my pleasure to introduce your presenter, Rebecca Stacey. Rebecca has an impressive resume, having spent the last 14 years in the travel industry working for a wide range of companies, including mass market, river, expedition lines, and as a travel advisor. Ever since her first expedition to Antarctica, she immediately fell in love with the unique and adventurous style of exploration. She is excited to be a part of Quark Expeditions team as the area sales director west and share her passion for polar travel with others. And with that, take it away, Rebecca.
Thank you so much for that kind introduction, everyone. I am Rebecca Stacey. I'm the Area Sales Director of the Western United States here at Quark Expeditions. I've been here for a little over 3 years. Yes, that is me on a particularly windy day on my last expedition trip in Patagonia at Torres del Paine. I have been in the industry now about 17 years, actually. My first job was in the call center of Princess Cruises and Cunard. I am super passionate about this industry, about building your guys' business and making sure you know what makes Quark Expeditions so special. I've been so fortunate to have been to the Arctic, Antarctica, and Patagonia at this point. And today I'm going to share what makes Quark Expeditions the leader in polar adventures. And one thing that I always like to point out is expedition. What does expedition mean, especially these days? And you can all read on the screen the Webster's dictionary definition of an expedition, but I will tell you, an expedition with Quark Expeditions is about taking your clients to these extremely remote places in the Arctic and Antarctica and making sure that we provide them and we take advantage of every single opportunity that presents itself, that shows itself to take advantage of the wildlife, of the scenery, of getting your clients into the zodiacs and out as quickly as possible, everyone at the same time to explore what these areas have to offer. And that is what a true expedition with Quark Expedition is. And I'll walk you through it today. And again, like Joanna said, please feel free to drop in any questions that you have. We'll cover them now or we'll follow up with you. So Quark Expeditions equals polar. From the boardroom to the bridge, all we talk about, all we discuss, all we think about, all of our itineraries is focused on what can we do to maximize your client's experience in the Arctic and Antarctica specifically. I'll go through a lot of the reasons why to travel with Quark Expeditions as we go through this itinerary. I'll be honest, I have a bunch of slides and a bunch of things to go over, so we'll hurry up and get through this. So, Quark Expeditions, we mean polar. And the places that we visit are in the Arctic. We go and focus in Svalbard, in Greenland, the Canadian Arctic, as well as a little bit of Iceland. In Antarctica, we go to the Antarctic Peninsula, of course, the Falkland Islands, South Georgia, and Patagonia, and Snow Hill Island. One thing about Snow Hill Island is, yes, we are the company that first confirmed the existence of Snow Hill. It is where the emperor penguins are as well. We, a couple years later, took the BBC down with us after we confirmed the existence. And seeing the emperor penguins is one of the rarest opportunities to see animals in this entire planet. So it is something that is definitely a notch on our belt, as well as our over 35 years at this point of history visiting and taking clients to these very remote, very beautiful, very unique destinations in the world. So who is the polar traveler? And I want you to think about this as I'm going through this webinar and as I'm talking about the destinations and a day in the life. But the polar traveler can be broken up to a couple of different segments at this point. They're your checklisters, the ones that like are, let me hit all 7 continents. I want to make sure I go to Antarctica. I want to make sure that I have that experience. I want to step foot on the Antarctic Peninsula. You have your learners. They're the ones that are constantly seeking more information. They always want to learn more. They're going to get excited when the geologists start talking about the mica that you see on the edge of these mountains in Northeast Greenland. They're always looking to know more. They want to be surrounded by the people who are experts and who have spent their entire life learning very, very specific things about ornithology, biology, glaciology. You have your adventurers, the ones that want to get out, they want to hike, they want to take a helicopter up to the peak of a mountain in Greenland that's nobody's ever been there before. They're always looking for those extra adventures. They want to go kayaking where the birthplace of kayaks actually formed. They're looking for, always trying to do something more. They're adventurous. They're trying to challenge themselves. They think, what, summiting mountains on my vacation seems like the fun thing to do. And then lastly, we have the escapist. Now, the escapist is actually a very, very growing trend that I've seen, and I've worked in expedition for quite some time now in this particular segment, and not just mass market cruising. I was advisors like a lot of you guys on the call right now. I worked for river cruise companies, but these escapists, they have done it already. They have done those custom FITs through Europe. They have gone to a lot of these different destinations. And I like to say that something happened around 2020, which I don't think I need to go into much more often, much more. And now when they travel, they want to get away from it all. They want to feel the silence and the beauty and hear the crackling of the ice in Antarctica. And they just want to get away from it all. They want to make sure that they're on a luxury ship that has heated bathroom floors or all the amenities that they're expected to have as they have traveled before. But they want to be in a very, very remote destination. They don't want to worry about big cities these days. They want to get away from it all. And so those are the 4 demographics that we see the most that come to expedition travel, that come to us at Quark Expeditions. A lot of times, and trust me, if you have that client that's like, how do I get a passport because I'm going to Antarctica the first time? Please let me know. Would love to meet them or know who they are. But most of the time, the people that are great for a Quark expedition, they have interest in photography. They've done safaris before. They've done river cruises before. You've convinced them that small ship travel is a very unique, exciting way to go. So they're not looking to go on ships that are 500 passengers plus. They love animals. They've done the Galapagos. They maybe have already dipped their toes in a cold water destination or a colder destination like Alaska or Iceland. They're always looking for that excitement for where they want to go. And sometimes it can just be that mic drop on the golf course where they want to tell their friends, yes, you might have gone to Italy over the summer, but I went up to Jan Mayen and I can guarantee you they will not know where that place is. And that's the polar traveler. So as I go through this, keep in mind and think about who you have in your database, because I promise you, you already have some clients that are great for a Quark expedition that maybe you just haven't thought of at this point. Expedition is getting so popular these days. The word's getting thrown about all the time. There's new suppliers entering the market, but remember, Quark Expeditions, we've been doing this for well over 30 years. We know what we're doing. We focus on the Arctic and Antarctica, and that is our point. That is what we're passionate about. Every single person, from accounting to operations to the expedition team leaders To us, your area sales directors, we are all passionate about polar. We use 3 ships. We have the most modern, diverse fleet in the polar regions. All of our ships are under 200 passengers. I'll go into them in a little bit more, but we have the Ultramarine, the World Explorer, and the Ocean Explorer. And why this is so important, and especially in areas like Svalbard soon to be, and in areas like Antarctica, is because size actually matters. Sorry to break it to you. Size matters when it comes to going and visiting the polar regions. When you're on a category 1 ship, so under 200 passengers, where we stick at, everybody can go out and do the same landing. There's only 100 people available that are allowed to set foot on the Antarctic Peninsula at any given time. So what happens during a landing in Antarctica, for instance, when you're with Quark Expeditions, is you'll have 100 passengers hiking, looking around, moseying about, seeing the gentoos, seeing the macaroni penguins, experiencing the seals, visiting it on land. And then the rest of the guests will be doing a Zodiac cruise at that same time, and then they'll swap. So I kind of explain it as sort of a choreographed dance where, one group is on land, maybe some people are doing kayaking or paddleboarding, and then you have other groups doing Zodiac cruising, but in that same time slot that we are permitted via IATO, which is a nonprofit governing board that Quark Expeditions helped found in Antarctica. We've helped establish the rules from day one back in the 90s of how tourism should look. Everybody on a category 1 ship, which Quark is under, everyone gets to experience that same landing. When you go to a category 2 ship, so you're over 200 passengers, you're under 500 though, it is logistically impossible to have everyone experience that same landing at that same time because you only have a certain amount of time to be allowed in those specific areas. And when you have over 200 passengers, you can't do that choreographed dance that I just talked about. Not everybody can experience that same area. So that's when you have situations where it's, Group A will go in the morning, Group B will go in the afternoon, or Group A will go one day, Group B will go the other day. So it's not the same experience by any means. And if you're over 500 passengers, then what you're doing is you're just waving at the penguins, you're gliding by the icebergs, you're looking at the scenery, but you don't actually get to have that feeling and that knowledge that you stepped foot on the Antarctic Peninsula. Diving into our ships a little bit. So we have the World Explorer, again, under 200 passengers, beautiful, all suites, all balconies. She's actually fantastic for groups. We get a lot of groups on her. So please feel free to reach out if you ever are interested in traveling for free as well. A group starts at basically 6 cabins, if not a little bit better. But the World Explorer is absolutely beautiful ship and vessel for this area. I should say she does the Antarctic area. We do not use her in the Arctic. We do use the Ocean Explorer. The Ocean Explorer is going to be brand new to us on this upcoming Antarctica season. And one thing you might notice a bit is, yes, she is an ex-bow vessel, and I'm sure you've heard that all come up a little bit as more and more companies have ex-bow vessels. She's great at gliding through that Drake Passage and some rough waters. But one thing to note, and a good analogy I always like to use, is the way that you buy, for instance, a car, and you can get a Lexus whatever with a bunch of different trim models. We have the highest trim model of this style vessel. She has 138 passengers, which many of them are fitted to have 198, 199 passengers. So know that our Ocean Explorer that we're using, it is more public space, less guests, able to get really nimble, and it is not just a cookie cutter style ship. I will mention, especially because we use the Ocean Explorer in the Northeast Greenland, that hot tub, there's two of them, absolutely amazing. And I highly recommend you advising your clients, even if they do not anticipate on doing the polar plunge with us, that they go ahead and bring their bathing suit, because sitting in a hot tub, looking up, looking at the northern lights is an absolute magical experience to have in Greenland. So again, amazing amenities. And now onto the ultramarine. So I'm going to do something a little bit different about the ultramarine. I'm not going to go through all of her details right away, but I'm going to explain what a day in the life of a Quark expedition looks like using the ultramarine in particular. So just an overview, you're going to wake up, we're going to get you off a couple times a day. We intend to do at least 2 if we're not having a dedicated sea day. There's recap lectures. Obviously, we feed you very, very well, but let's start on thinking about a day with Quark expeditions. So you're going to wake up in your balcony suite, beautifully appointed, heated bathroom floors, and enough storage space where even if you're someone like me and you have way too much stuff to do or to bring because you grew up in Los Angeles and lived in Las Vegas, so you're not quite sure how to react to this polar weather, you buy all of your wool, everything. There's plenty of storage space. And then from there, for breakfast, we have multiple dining venues, but you're going to see me in the Panorama Lounge. They have a fantastic coffee maker and some light snacks. I am not a huge breakfast person, but I definitely need something to eat before I get out for my first excursion. And then you're headed to the ready room. So the ready room is available on all of our ships, but what's so great about the ready room is it's where you can kind of keep your parkas, which we at Quark Expeditions provide, and your clients can go ahead and take home with you. You have your muck boots that you can wear and that you'll end up borrowing from us, so you do have to return them, but it's a great place to sort of get ready, put on your outer layers, and get going without having to keep that stuff in your room. And then you're off to your first excursion. We have a number of included excursions as well as additional excursions. So right now we're going to pretend you're going to be doing one of our included excursions. So that could be anything from zodiac cruising, that can be a hike. And keep in mind with our hikes, we have multiple levels of activity. So you can be somebody that you summit mountains for fun, and we will have you on a charger hike that goes as far, as fast, as high as you possibly can go. All the way down to, you know what, I just want to mosey about this beach area. I just want to look around. I want to walk, 10 minutes to go see that glacier. I don't need to go as far as fast. And then, of course, everywhere in between. On the Ultramarine, which this is the ship that we're on right now, included flight scene is available for all guests that book. I always like to mention, we didn't just wake up one day when we built the Ultramarine and said, listen, we're going to throw some Airbus H-145 helicopters on there, figure out how to do this. We have been operating helicopter operations for decades. The Ultramarine, as we were able to build, design, conceptualize, use the assistance and use the feedback from our operations and expedition teams to now have a full idea, a full picture of what a helicopter program in these polar regions should look like, should be like, and we're so excited to offer this. The only places that we don't offer the complimentary helicopter flight scene is going to be over Svalbard and over South Georgia only. So those are two small exceptions, sorry. And then of course there's the polar plunge. And yes, that's me on the top left doing my polar plunge in Greenland. Highly recommend everyone do one. It is definitely a good badge of honor. And after your polar plunge, go to the tundra spa. Now this is the tip. I made a mistake initially on one of my earlier trips on going straight into the hot tub after the polar plunge, but really you want to be in the sauna at the tundra spa. So something to note is we do have the sauna, which is beautiful, beautiful windows and landscapes to see the world, to glide by, to see the icebergs, to see the penguins, to see the whales as you go. But also that's included. You don't need a spa day pass. We also have those lounge areas that you see and a steam room as well. Now, we do have some massages and other spa amenities available for purchase, but keep in mind that just basically your normal day spa pass is not an additional cost. It's a great place to go, especially after your polar plunge. Now, after you had your polar plunge or you've done your first excursion, it's time for lunch. And for lunch, I'm going to go to the casual area, the bistro. I'm going to grab some casual lunch going on. They do have a full service lunch as well in our main dining restaurant, but I'm going to grab something casual. And then I have a little bit more time. What am I going to do? I'm going to go to the full wraparound deck that is on the Ultramarine. One thing that I personally think is understandable, but a shame with some of these new shipbuilding builds is you need a full wraparound deck, especially with expeditions. Expeditions are all about what are you going to see? What are you going to do? What kind of spontaneous opportunity presents itself, whether it be a pot of humpback whales, whether it be beautiful scenery and going through a glacier alley and so many other exciting opportunities. So get outside as much as possible. What's so wonderful about the Ultramarine is that it truly does have a full wraparound deck. And again, on an expedition, you want to get outside, you want to be experiencing where we're going to go, what we're going to do, what your clients are going to see. Our expedition team members are around all the time. And this is actually a great other point to note is we have the best in the industry expedition team to guest ratio. So if you're familiar with luxury hotels or luxury cruising, when everyone talks about, guest to staff ratio in the expedition world, guest to expedition team member ratio is just as equally as important. In Quark, we have the best in the industry. It's one expedition team member for every 6 guests. And these are your ornithologists, your biologists, your historians, your glaciologists. They're there to make and bring alive every single thing your clients see, do, experience, hear, smell, whatever it is. And they are so phenomenal at what they do. So, all right, you've had lunch, you spent some time out of deck, you're on for your second excursion. Well, you're on the Ultramarine, so maybe you're experiencing one of our flight scene activities with on board one of our 2 twin-engine helicopters. And I will say that it does feel, and I'll be honest, I was terrified of a helicopter. I've been on a plane a million times, but I was terrified of a helicopter before I went to Patagonia. And when I went on there, I felt like it was such an incredible experience. I just felt like I was in, quite frankly, filming a BBC documentary or a nature documentary that you see on Netflix. It didn't just see like I was in the midst of it. It didn't just seem like, I was just there looking around. It was such an incredible experience to see the destination, to see these remote places, to discover what the polar regions have with that bird's eye view. So there's a number of other activities that we have, not just the included ones, but we have stand-up paddleboarding, we have kayaking, we have heli landings, we have mountain biking in Greenland. There's so much to do. I will give you a tip though, as we're seeing more and more people come from different areas of just traditional luxury cruising and getting private car and drivers. Definitely pre-book these adventure options wherever applicable, especially if it includes camping, whether it be in Greenland or Antarctica, or any of the helicopter activities. I think one trend that I'm definitely noticing is since we're getting so many people that were interested or was used to premium and luxury cruising and different custom FIT itineraries, They want to have that locked in, and we're quite frankly selling out. And best of all, though, it's commissionable to you guys too. So go ahead, have those conversations earlier than later. So after your second excursion, you're going to come back, you're going to quickly change your clothes, maybe take a quick shower, and then it's off into recap. Recap is such a fantastic time because not only is the expedition leader going to give you some insight of what's going to happen in the next day, the next couple of days, but especially on busy itineraries, you're going to have your expedition team members who really are the core of what shines bright of these different trips. Bring to life animal behavior that you've seen that day, maybe a little history lesson, some information about the geography and the geology of the regions that you went to. It's going to complete the entire picture of what your clients are seeing and doing. So you're going to pop into the lounge and do that. And then next thing you know, you're off to dinner. And one thing I love about the Bellina restaurant, this is our formal restaurant on the Ultramarine. All of the ships have a casual plus more formal dining area. Is not only you're going to have fantastic food, multi-course dining, of course, all of your normal options if somebody just wants, a hamburger or steak or whatnot, but it's going to be a rotating menu. Absolutely delicious. We're really good at working with allergies or food specifications, so make sure that you let us know if you have some clients on there as well that have those particularities. I can talk personally from myself because I have a shellfish allergy. Absolutely well taken care of. But you'll notice in this picture that you see the deck outside, and that is the full wraparound deck. And there's 4 exit points from this restaurant to the wraparound deck because, oh wait, it's dinner time and you're in Patagonia and you see this fantastic sunset about to illuminate the entire world that you're looking at. And one thing that we do, and again, been in this industry for quite a long time. I've been on over 20 different cruise ships, but what Quark does, what Expedition is all about is when I was in Patagonia, for instance, we saw this sunset start to like really look good. I got up out of my seat, I popped my head out onto the deck, and I looked up actually, and you can kind of see up on that picture to the right, and looked to the bridge, which we do have an open bridge policy, by the way. And I started seeing that a lot of our staff members and a lot of the crew were taking pictures outside, and I was like, okay, this has to be really beautiful. Something really awesome is going to happen right now because they're taking photos. People are starting to kind of notice and get it. And sure enough, as the sun was setting, more and more people got up, got out of their seats. They went ahead and they were all about taking photos of what was going on outside. So whether it be a sunset, whether it be a pod of whales, whether it be something magnificent, like this is the opportunity. These are the experiences that we want your clients to have. So not only did that happen, not only could you just easily get out of your seat and walk out onto that wraparound deck, you didn't have to go up a flight of stairs, you didn't have to figure out to go to the left and figure out how you need to go out to actually hit a deck for it to see. We stopped food service for the ones that got up. We refired food. We went ahead and we took the time to allow myself and the other passengers to really enjoy what was going on outside. Because with an expedition, and I cannot stress this enough, it is about taking advantage of not just our 30 plus years of experience operating in these regions, but any small moment that popped up that would enhance the time that your clients have. That is what an expedition with Quark Expeditions is all about. So after you had dinner, you're going to go ahead and get another little nightcap because yes, starting this Antarctica season, we do have free standard Wi-Fi and free bar service on all of our ships, on all of our trips. But then you're going to go back to probably the Ambassador's Lounge, because you want to hear a bar talk. And what a bar talk is, it is the expedition team members sharing a little bit about their lives and what they do. And we're so fortunate, and I cannot stress this enough, to have an amazing group of expedition team members. I probably wouldn't be as cocky as I am right now, but I have worked in the space for a little bit of time. I've talked to plenty of partners. I've talked to plenty of travelers, and our expedition team, they're consistent. Many of them have been with us for over a decade. They have been on average over 125 polar specific trips. They know not only how to work with your clients to make them excited about what they do, but they are the best and knowledgeable about everything that they've experienced. And they are polar specific travelers and expedition team members. And during these bar talks, though, it gives the opportunity for them to talk a little bit more about their lives outside of the Arctic and Antarctica. So you may hear one of our expedition team members talk about how, decades and decades ago, he was hitchhiking his way through Afghanistan to take a photograph of a bird that had never been photographed before. You may hear about an expedition team member talk about his time with Conservancy and what he does when he's not with Quark expeditions and he's taking his canoe or kayak down Haida to get to the area where he can go ahead and count more birds to understand more behavior. It is a wonderful time of the evening. And then you think you're going off to bed. But wait, it is maybe 1 o'clock, and next thing you know, you're in Northeast Greenland, and the Northern Lights are putting on a magnificent show. So we're not going to bang on everybody's door. We will make an announcement, but one thing about Quark Expeditions, again, I cannot stress this enough, it's about taking advantage of all the opportunities that nature, that wildlife, that our decades of experience provides us. So we'll let you know if the Northern Lights decide to put on a show, even if you may have gone to bed already, or even better, it's the land of the midnight sun, and you're in Svalbard, and we have a polar bear sighting. And one thing, especially up in Svalbard, is we do have expedition team members on the bridge 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, again, looking for those opportunities. So maybe you went to bed, maybe you might get a light wake up call, but again, it is to help really showcase all of the opportunities that your clients have to experience these amazing remote places that we go to. So just a little highlight of itineraries, what you can do and what you can see, and I'm trying to be mindful of time, but in the Arctic, we focus on a few major areas: the Canadian Arctic, Greenland, Iceland, and Svalbard. That photo on the bottom right corner, though, I put in recently. This was us a couple weeks ago when we were doing one of our Canadian high Arctic trips. And Quark Expeditions, the Ultramarine, is that sort of dot with the red circle furthest north up there. This is through a ship tracker website that I'm sure many of you guys have looked at before, but I really wanted to add this to show just what Quark Expeditions does. It's about not just going to the places that you may have heard of before, not just going to some of those destinations that, yeah, ships 1,000 passengers above are going, even if it's Greenland or 500 passengers above. It's always about going further, farther, and deeper into these very remote areas and giving your clients this amazing experience, just being immersed and in depth and soaking up all of the knowledge, the wildlife, the communities, everything that they can about where we go. So I thought that really, really highlighted a little bit about what Quark Expeditions does versus some other suppliers, because we will always be pushing the envelope on what unique destinations, where can we be going. So this again just kind of gives a good route of what we do up in the Arctic. So Svalbard is one of the main areas that we go to. Svalbard, home to more polar bears than people. This is definitely a destination where if your client has gone to the Galapagos, if they've done an African safari, if they've already done Antarctica, and they want to see polar bears, they want to be around the wildlife, they want to see walruses and ice, and this is more akin to a safari. I would say it's more half the fun is searching for the polar bears and some of the wildlife as well. But this is an absolute amazing destination. Svalbard Explorer is sort of our mainstay for 2025. It's 10 days, really gets your clients into some of those areas where it's perfect to go ahead and see polar bears, other animals, of course, with that exception that expedition is always a little uncertain, but that is the fun part of it. The Canadian Arctic is often overlooked, but it's one area that has definitely grown on me more and more as I've worked for Quark Expeditions. You have a little bit of everything in the Canadian Arctic. So I'll go into Greenland in a few moments, but the Canadian Arctic has a sense of wildlife, it has a sense of community, it has a sense of just vast landscapes. It's an area where, I mean, even Dundas Harbor. I mean, that is an area where Hollywood goes to film areas when they want to replicate Mars. It is where scientists and biologists flock to understand biodiversity, to understand growing in extreme conditions. It's just absolutely incredible. There's also the historic element, whether or not you're a fan of Roald Amundsen, you know about the Franklin expedition. The Canadian Arctic has a combination of a little bit of everything between community, history, beauty of the natural landscape, as well as animals. So the Northwest Passage is definitely one itinerary that covers a lot of that stuff. Absolutely otherworldly experience. And the community visits, of course, are always really important as well. We just came out with this Northwest Passage to Newfoundland itinerary. I won't talk much about it because, quite frankly, it's almost sold out. So if you have any clients that are really interested in something unique, call us now to get more information. But Torngat Mountains National Park, that was the area that really stood out to me when we were talking about this new itinerary internally. And Torngat Mountains National Park, this is an area where less than 600 people go to in general a year. It's one of the only places where both black bears and polar bears both reside. It's absolutely incredible, absolutely beautiful, and again, speaks to what Quark Expeditions does and where we go. Greenland, I love Greenland. I will admit I love Greenland more than Antarctica, even though I spent 3 weeks in Antarctica. Greenland just absolutely took my heart away. And I did a similar itinerary to this with Quark Adventures in Northeast Greenland. Northeast Greenland National Park is one of the largest national parks in the entire world. These are some photos of just my trip. It's the 10th largest protected area in the world. It is vast, it's remote, it is absolutely beautiful. You visit Itzik Torment on the bottom right, which is one of the northernmost remote areas in the entire world. It's just absolutely an incredible experience. We time it up to also see the Northern Lights. Highly recommend that. South Greenland adventure. Again, one thing about Greenland is the landscapes do vary, whether you talk about Northeast Greenland, Southern Greenland, Western Greenland. So, and this is one of the areas that when I started and joined Quark Expedition, and I went around and talked to the expedition team members I can get my hands on, they all said, Greenland is where I love to go. The hiking, the beauty. I People often say, Antarctica feels very otherworldly. When I was in Northeast Greenland, I was hiking around, I was like, this feels like I'm on Earth. I just feel like I'm here 150 million years ago, and I expect a dinosaur to be walking around like at any point during my hike. It was just absolutely incredible, the scenery, the experience, what to do. Diving into Antarctica. Now, she is sort of the golden child of the polar world. I'll admit to that. Again, I spent 3 weeks, Antarctica, South Georgia, and the Falkland Islands. So reach out to me if you have any questions about any of these areas. It is what made me fall in love with expedition travel. So in Antarctica, we focus on the Falkland Islands, South Georgia, the Antarctic Peninsula, and of course, Patagonia as well. So the Antarctic Peninsula, we have a couple of different ways to go there, a couple different style trips. One thing that Quark Expeditions has been doing for over a decade is our fly cruise. This is, I'll give you guys a hint, especially if you live in the Western United States. This is one of my top selling trips. I don't know if it's because, again, we get a little nervous about cold weather or we just don't have enough time or what have you, but we've been doing this for over a decade at this point. It's the shortest way to get to Antarctica, to get on a ship and to step foot and have true landings and explore the Antarctic Peninsula. We also have versions coming up where you can cruise one way and fly the other way back and forth. So that's definitely an opportunity for someone that wants to make sure that they have their badge of honor for crossing the Drake Passage. But Antarctica, again, it speaks for itself. The seventh continent, multiple varieties of penguins that you can see, absolutely an incredible experience. The Antarctic Explorer trip, that is sort of our mainstay, where you're taking 12 days, you're crossing the Drake Passage each way, you're having multiple opportunities for lectures to get more insight of what you're doing, where you're going, what you're experiencing, and of course, making sure that you have multiple landings in the different destinations that we go to. We also always have additional opportunities that I would tell you to reach out to us to learn more, whether it be stand-up paddleboarding, kayaking, paddling, even camping in the area. Snow Hill, I talked about a little bit earlier, and how we confirm the existence of Snow Hill. The Snow Hill trip, I will say, is probably not an Antarctica 101 trip for those that have never been before, because our main goal, the 100% priority, is to get you to Snow Hill Island. We've had immense success before. Everyone that went previously in our past season absolutely loved it. But this is where you see the emperor penguins. These are the largest penguins that exist at this point. If you've seen March of the Penguins, you definitely are familiar with some emperor penguins. And it is one of the rarest opportunities to see an animal in this world. It is not only because you have to go down to Snow Hill Island, not only do you have to have the proper helicopter operations to get you close by, so then you can go ahead and walk to the rookery. It does take a lot of experience and know-how, and Quark Expeditions, having discovered the existence of Snow Hill, that's what we have. South Georgia, briefly, if anybody's ever seen one of those David Attenborough documentaries where you see hundreds of thousands of penguins around, those are king penguins, and that's in South Georgia. It's an absolute incredible sight. These king penguins can grow to approximately 3 feet tall, and I'll tell you guys, I'm 5'1", and that's was quite a shock to learn, especially after I spent some time with my nephew, who was a little bit shorter than me. But it is a wonderful opportunity. The only way that you can do it is by ship. We have a couple of different itineraries. The shortest itinerary that we have, though, is our South Georgia and Antarctic Peninsula, the Penguin Safari. For those animal lovers, clients, like the ones that truly want to be surrounded by a very unique experience, definitely, and have the time, definitely talk to them about South Georgia, because I can almost promise you they know it because they've seen it in a documentary. And Antarctica is absolutely incredible. When you see 18,000 breeding penguins of gentus, it's phenomenal, but nothing beats 250,000 king penguins yapping and sounding like trumpets right in front of you. The elephant seals also are fantastic. If you love some of that history as well, Shackleton is very well known, and you can visit Shackleton's grave when you go ahead and go to South Georgia. And lastly, the Falkland Islands. So the Falkland Islands have a lot of history. They're home to the largest black-browed or brown, either black or brown-browed albatross. And it's, again, more penguins. Incredible. So if you have the person, and this is an itinerary that I did, where they have the time, they want to go to Antarctica, they want to see and experience all that they can, definitely look at something like Epic Antarctica, where they're going to the Falkland Islands. You have penguins, you have this incredible, actually, oh, this is the picture. I think the left side is Grave Cove. So you have this incredible, interesting formation of, beaches and the penguins, as well as a historical significance with the Falklands. You have the albatross nesting area. It's an incredible destination for those that have 3 weeks. And of course, there's Stanley as well, which is that major port, and probably the last place that you're going to be able to find a shop that you need anything at if you're going down to Antarctica. And then lastly, Patagonia. Patagonia, I did in spring, actually. It was absolutely incredible. What's really unique about our Patagonia trip is it is not only do you go to Torres del Paine, but you do, and you'll see via this map, you spend so much time actually not in open ocean after you round Cape Horn and possibly get to stay there, but you're going in and out of these tiny inlets, these tiny waterways all along the Chilean side of Patagonia. As I said earlier, I joke that I get seasick just looking at the ocean. I was very surprised that 4 days into my trip, I actually just stopped taking my seasickness medication because I didn't have to worry about it. And part of the reason why is because we use something, and I'll kind of switch to the next picture so you can look at some pretty things. But we use something called the WASP that we have purchased. And what the WASP does is our expedition team takes it out and takes it out before we take our Zodiacs out, takes it out before sometimes the ship goes out. And the WASP does live soundings of how deep the water is in these areas that we want to explore. So like our true expedition history, our true Quark history, in the spirit of all of the famous explorers before us, we're going through uncharted waters in some of these cases. When I was in Patagonia, we did go through some uncharted waters. That picture that you saw earlier when I showed you the Arctic and the one on the side about Quark being, above everybody else and all the other ships around, that was also because we were going through some uncharted waters. We have the capabilities, we invest in the ability to still stick true to our explorer roots and to constantly go into places that no other people are going before, to give your clients, you guys, that experience that expedition is all about, quite frankly. And then lastly, where can you learn more information? So the Quark Expeditions Partner Portal is your best one-stop shop for everything that you need to know. You can find my information. I'm the area sales director of the Western United States, but you could also find out who your local rep is and engage with them about any sort of marketing ideas, presentations, additional trainings. We have a plethora of videos, of images, of, all of the brochures, all the white label things. I know that we have a couple of handouts as well that are up there for you guys to have. And then lastly, this is also a handout, so don't feel worried about having to take a shot right now at the screenshot at the QR code, but we still have time in the summer in the Arctic sweepstakes, and this is your chance to win a cabin on our 13-day Arctic voyage from Svalbard to Jan Mayen to Iceland. And you don't necessarily have to just book Arctic bookings with us. You can participate by getting your Polar Pro certification, subscribing to the Q report, sharing content on social media with our hashtag, or watching any one of our previous webinars. So you still have an option to do that. And thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate this. I know I've been talking quite a lot for almost the whole time, but I think we have some time for questions. And thank you again.
Hey, Rebecca. Yes, thank you so much for sharing all that information. Definitely a lot of valuable information about the itineraries, what kind of client our travel agent should be looking for. And I do want to let you know that there are some attendees who are thanking you and saying that the presentation was fantastic. So just wanted to pass that along to you. In terms of questions, I think it would be good to maybe talk about how clients can pay for their expeditions with Quark. For those agents who may be new, is there a payment plan? Is there a deposit, or is everything due as a final payment?
Yep, their deposit is 25% of the booking. That's to do within pretty much a week of making the booking. We actually have this great quote hold book tool that's on that partner portal as well, that we just released too, if you want to play around with some options. And we have a great dates and rates page as well that kind of gives a bottom line figure. But there is a deposit due within a week, final payments 120 days prior to departure, and then sort of like all of, a lot of the other suppliers and tour operators out there, there's a sliding cancellation penalty schedule once we start getting into final payment dates.
Great, and all of that information can be found in the portal. Could you go back to the slide that gives them the link or just where they can find that login or sign up?
Yep, there you go. And I'll also mention, I know during that you guys give us all the information, so we'll be following up with everybody attending as well to make sure you have all the links that's needed for this.
Perfect. And we did have a question just come in right now. Speaking specifically to travel insurance, is there a travel insurance that Quark offers or highly recommends in terms of doing an expedition or going on something like this that isn't quite common, but something that's gaining popularity?
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, as a former travel advisor myself, highly recommend always encouraging travel insurance. Here at Quark Expeditions, we do have a travel insurance policy that you guys can purchase as well. But also the travel advisor hat in me, that maybe, I know this is recorded, but I shouldn't say, but if you're doing pre and post, if you're adding on, which a lot of these partners do, I'm sure you guys also have some preferred third-party travel insurance companies you guys work with as well. So I always say explore both options that you have, but you could always call into one of our Polar travel advisors. What's great too that I didn't mention is our reservations team. We're open 24 hours a day, 6 days a week, and half the time on Sunday. We have people located in the UK, in North America, in Australia, in Cape Town now, in San Jose. So we have you covered if you have any questions too, or need a quote or anything.
Great, thank you so much for that. And I think one last question that would be good for the group is for all of those excursions that are included that they can choose from, that clients can choose from once they're on board with you all, could you share us your top three that travel agents should highly recommend for either a specific itinerary or just in general?
Yeah. So besides the included excursions, because that's going to be an opportunity for everyone. The additional excursions that I would really recommend, and make sure that you're having those conversations with your clients ahead of time, anything that has to do with a helicopter, our heli landings, our Greenland camping experience, which you also take a helicopter to, our sometimes we do heli mountain biking as well, where you're taking a helicopter up to the peak of a mountain and you're mountain biking down. Anything that has to do with a helicopter, definitely have that conversation ahead of time. Um, I also would recommend camping in Antarctica or the Arctic in Greenland. Very popular on our dates and rates page actually too, which you can find on the Quark Expeditions website. That will let you filter by not only itinerary, not only date, not only season, but also adventure activity. So if you have that client that's, I want to go to Antarctica, I don't want to be part of a lottery like other suppliers where I don't know if I can go camping until I'm on board, you can filter by that in itself. And then the last excursion that I'm going to talk about, or the add-on, this is something that I absolutely cannot wait to experience myself. We have in the Canadian Arctic, in Greenland, we have on most of those itineraries something called Tundra to Table. It is a multi-course dining experience with a Canadian Arctic Indigenous chef as well as a Greenlandic chef, and they come together. They pair a multi-course meal. They talk a lot about the history, their experiences. You go foraging with them. It's you guys, it's $125 US per person. I've spent more money paying for sushi omakase in a parking garage in Beverly Hills for an experience like that. And the tender to table is something that just consistently I get amazing feedback from with all of my partners that have clients experience that. So I would definitely have a conversation about that one as well. And then I guess the other last one is we do have a full-on kayaking program. So if you have those active guests, especially if you're going in, to Greenland, home of where kayaking began, basically. We do have a program where we will take them kayaking every single day that we can. So it's not just a one-off paddling like some of the other excursions we have, but if you have those clients that are keen kayakers, definitely think about the kayaking program.
Perfect. You make me want to go book my expedition today. Well, we are just about out of time here, Rebecca. Again, on behalf of CLIA and all of our attendees today, we want to really thank you for your time and a great presentation. And for our attendees today, thank you for joining Quark, Rebecca, and myself for another CLIA Global Cruise Line. And we hope everyone has a good rest of the day, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you so much.